What if I told you that a hidden infrastructure stock, up over 5,000% this past year, is currently flashing a massive oversold buy signal, right as institutional treasuries build an unbreakable price floor underneath it? With Ethereum aggressively breaking out and big tech pouring into digital assets, this ticker is sitting on a coiled spring technical setup that my analysis suggests is ready to explode. My name is Mark. Watch till end. Please like and subscribe for more update. Let's start exactly there, with the macro noise. A lot of people are throwing around the term crypto winter again because I've seen some short-term pullbacks in the broader market. But this narrative is basically a trap for retail investors. Oh, absolutely. It's a classic trap. Look at the recent research from Bitwise. Their analyst Ryan Rasmussen pointed out that these brutal pullbacks are completely normal historically. In my opinion, what is happening right now is simply a shakeout of the weak hands. Volatility always grabs the headlines, but long-term investors know to look past it. So, if the short-term noise is a distraction, what is the actual reality on the ground? Why is the long-term thesis stronger right now? Well, my analysis suggests the long-term thesis is backed by massive, undeniable forces. I am seeing major regulatory tailwinds, a massive spike in institutional adoption, and a globally rising demand for hard assets. But the biggest secret right now, and this is what Adam Back, the CEO of Blockstream, just talked about on CNBC, is this incredible phenomenon of Bitcoin treasury companies. I wanted to look into this because Adam Back mentioned structural demand. What does that actually mean for a company like BMNR? It changes everything, honestly. A treasury company's entire strategy is to buy digital assets and hold them on their long-term balance sheets. They are not day trading. When these treasuries accumulate, they are permanently taking that circulating supply right off the open market. That creates what Adam Back calls structural demand. Because there are fewer coins available, it literally builds a solid price floor underneath the market. And guess what? If you look at the top US entities on the Bitcoin treasuries list, BitMine Immersion Technologies, BMNR, is sitting right there on that list. They are actively participating in creating this exact price floor, so they are effectively helping to squeeze the supply. In my view, that's huge for long-term valuation. But what about the broader stock market? Tom Lee from Fundstrat was saying, the market feels like a bear market, but it isn't. How does BMNR fit into traditional equities right now? Tom Lee's insight is absolutely brilliant here. He noted that the markets aren't breaking down, they are simply rotating. Capital is moving out of the giant traditional software platforms and flowing directly into the underlying hardware suppliers and infrastructure builders. It's a massive capital rotation into infrastructure. Plus, I see this risk appetite vortex, where gold has surged so high, it's pulling capital away from traditional risk assets. BMNR is an immersion cooling and infrastructure company. They are the picks and shovels of the digital age. They sit exactly in the path of this infrastructure rotation. That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of infrastructure, I am seeing some wild convergence between traditional finance and the crypto space right now. I mean, big tech is stepping in aggressively. Exactly. My analysis suggests the fundamentals are aligning perfectly. Look at what Meta is doing. They are planning to integrate stablecoins, like USDC and Tether, directly into their social platforms in the second half of the year. That is distribution at an internet scale. Exposing billions of users to native digital payments turns these assets from speculative tokens into global financial infrastructure. And if that wasn't enough, Coinbase just flipped the switch to allow zero commission stock and ETF trading for all US users right inside their app. They even partnered with Yahoo Finance so users can research an asset and buy it with one click. It is becoming the everything exchange, merging crypto and equities into one wallet. In my opinion, the walls between traditional finance and digital assets are completely falling down. Okay, so fundamentally, the space is undergoing a supercycle of adoption and structural holding. The foundation is rock solid. Let's pivot to the second part of my title. I want to talk about the charts, because this is where day traders and swing traders are going to lose their minds. Let's talk about BMNR's technical analysis. The technical setup on BMNR right now is the definition of a coiled spring. But to understand BMNR's chart, I first have to look at its underlying proxy assets, specifically Ethereum. You might wonder, why Ethereum specifically? Because BMNR's mining and infrastructure operations make its stock price highly sensitive to major moves in the crypto market. If I look at the 30-minute chart for Ethereum right now, it is showing explosive bullish momentum. I just witnessed a massive vertical price surge where Ethereum broke sharply out of a consolidation zone around $1,850 and shot straight up past $1,920. That kind of aggressive, high-volume breakout in the underlying asset acts as a massive tailwind for a proxy stock like BMNR. It completely shifts the sentiment. That is a huge move for ETH. So with Ethereum breaking out, how is BMNR actually looking on the daily charts? The title says it's a 5,000% gainer flashing an oversold signal. How can a stock be up 5,000% but also be oversold? It sounds crazy, but the data is right there. Over the past 1 year, BMNR is up an astounding 5,226.03%. It has been an absolute monster for long-term holders. However, because of that macro noise and the temporary market rotation I discussed earlier, the stock has suffered a very steep, aggressive one-month correction of minus 32.50%, so it cooled off hard. Harder than it should have, technically speaking. When I look at the daily technical indicators, they are screaming that the selling pressure has completely exhausted itself. The Relative Strength Index, or RSI, is currently sitting at 36.80. Anything approaching that 30 level is classic, textbook oversold territory. On top of that, the moving average convergence divergence, the MACD, is deeply negative at minus 0.63. For those who might be newer to trading, what does a negative MACD combined with a low RSI tell you? It tells you that the pendulum has swung too far to the downside. The sellers have thrown everything they have at this stock over the last 1 month, pushing it down 32%, but now they are running out of steam. When I combine that heavily oversold condition with the massive fundamental tailwinds and Ethereum breaking out, in my opinion, that is the recipe for a violent relief bounce. Incredible. Now what happens when I zoom in? Because I love looking at the intraday price action to find exactly where that breakout point might be. The 10-minute intraday chart is where the real drama is happening right now. BMNR recently closed at $19.44, which was a nice little green day, up 1.14%. But look at how tight the price action is. The stock is trapped in this incredibly narrow consolidation range. It looks like it's just hugging the moving averages. Exactly. It is sitting perfectly on its volume-weighted average price, the VWAP, which is at $19.26. And right above that, the 200-period moving average is sitting at $19.28. The price is just tightly hovering around those key levels, waiting for a catalyst. What does the intraday MACD look like in a tight squeeze like that? It is completely flatlined. The 10-minute MACD is sitting exactly at 0.010. When the MACD goes flat like that, it means indecision. The buyers and sellers are at a complete stalemate. But markets don't stay in stalemates forever. This is what I call a coiled spring. The energy is compressing, and when a stock with a 1-year beta like this finally picks a direction, my analysis suggests it tends to explode. So, if I tie this all together, I have Ethereum giving me a massive, bullish proxy breakout. I have Adam Back and Bitwise telling me that structural demand is silently removing supply and building a price floor, and I have a stock that is deeply oversold on the daily chart, but coiling tightly on the intraday chart. If that 10-minute chart breaks upward with high volume, especially with the macro tailwinds from Meta and Coinbase validating the entire industry, in my view, BMNR could easily snap back to reclaim its recent highs. It is the ultimate setup for traders who know how to read both the fundamentals and the technicals.